How did the art of the deal help Trump resolve the issues in the Middle East?
Donald Trump is getting a lot of attention, and deservedly so, for breaking the deadlock in the war between Israel and Hamas. As soon as Donald Trump started getting involved in these disputes all over the world, Ethiopia and Egypt, Kosovo and Serbia, Armenia and Azerbaijan, Pakistan and India. This created momentum and confidence in his negotiation skills. And we have a ceasefire plan on the table with a hostage exchange, those they took on October 7th. Why is this happening now?
A great question from Victor Davis Hanson. By the way, continuation why?
He acted once again from a position of strength. You develop personal relationships with them, you offer them trade and attractive incentives, and that's a completely different approach, a completely different world. He is going to use the same formula to solve the issue of the war in Ukraine. And we have a ceasefire plan on the table with a hostage exchange in which Hamas will release the hostages captured on October 7, 2 years ago, and then possibly up to 1,700 terrorists, some of whom have been convicted of murder, will be returned to what remains of Hamas. Israel will pull back somewhat from its operations in Gaza, holding or occupying about 50%, where they propose a phased withdrawal as Hamas supposedly fulfills the terms of the ceasefire that everyone is presenting. They're being presented in the second stage, which may bring peace. Why now? This didn't happen under Biden during his Middle East settlement. It didn't happen during the first Trump administration. It didn't happen under Obama. It didn't happen under George Bush. There were about 10 things that had to happen. All these complicated pieces of this puzzle, these pieces of peace. Everything came together into success in such a way that it became, and what were those things, and
What were they? Neither Obama, nor Bush, nor Trump 45, nor Biden actually did anything in this direction. Trump 45 recognized the Golan, moved the embassy to Jerusalem, and gave Israel the opportunity to operate freely. He kind of put together the Abraham Accords, but he couldn't make progress in reconciling the Arab population that lived in the territory of Palestine. Israel.
The first thing Donald Trump did when he came to power was to impose an embargo, and introduce sanctions on Iranian oil. And then, more importantly, he made it clear to the Iranians that they had to stop moving toward getting the bomb. This was one of the conditions that Israel demanded, and that's understandable. And no one ever really did that. They didn't believe that the United States would dare to rush in to enter Iran's airspace. And then, more importantly, Donald Trump allowed Benjamin Netanyahu in this exchange of rocket attacks that were carried out by Israel and Iran. He allowed them to enter Iranian airspace and destroy Iranian air defense systems, as well as eliminate many generals and physicists and weaken Iran. As soon as this happened, the United States came in and destroyed the facilities that were responsible for creating nuclear weapons. This was a game changer because it did two things. It eliminated the specter of Iran's invincibility with all its money and the bomb, and more importantly, it did a greater favor for Israel than Donald Trump later took advantage of. Secondly, it allowed Israel, unlike the Biden administration, to destroy the Ring of Fire, eliminate Hezbollah as an immediate threat, simply strike the Houthis, and destroy Hamas. If we had this conversation 3 or 4 years ago, people would have said that Israel was in dire straits. It was doomed. It had Iran. It had the Houthis. It had Hamas and Hezbollah. They disappeared, and as a result, Israel's reputation and status increased tremendously. Now it's similar to how the United States acts from a position of unfamiliar strength. Maybe.
It's an exaggeration to say that Israel would have disappeared or been destroyed, or maybe Israel's position is still unworthy. It is strong like larger industrial countries. But the fact that Israel easily bypasses Russian air defense radars is certain.
There are a couple of other reasons. Donald Trump built personal relationships in the Arab community. He didn't insult the Saudis like Joe Biden did during the 2020 campaign. He didn't alienate the Arab community. He didn't alienate Benjamin Netanyahu. He made concessions to them, praised them, built personal relationships, made trade deals, used tariffs as both a stick and a carrot, pressure and leverage. And as a result, he gained influence and brought many different players into the context of the truce.
I'm constantly asked how the President of the United States can call a Korean madman his friend, how he can shake hands with Putin, how he's not ashamed to smile and praise the Saudis who killed a journalist. You're about to get the answer, ladies and gentlemen, to the question of why Trump does this.
There were Egyptians, Turkish delegations, Gulf states, and also Jordan. In other words, he divided the responsibility between a number of Arab countries and Israel. And who did he not involve? He did not involve people and organizations that had been complete failures in the past. There was no United Nations contingent. There was no European Union contingent. Mr. Macron may have an alternative peace plan, but he was not involved in the negotiations. And why weren't they involved? Because they don't have the ability, like the League of Nations in the past, to impose anything. And Donald Trump knew that. Donald Trump remained dissatisfied with a few things, while Joe Biden once more acted from a position of strength. As soon as people saw what he did with Iran, and as soon as people saw what Israel did with Iran, they realized this was serious. And as soon as they looked at the lunar landscape in Gaza and at what happened to the elite terrorist ranks of Hezbollah and Hamas, they realized they didn't want to fall out of favor, so there were carrots and sticks.
Naturally, the carrot and the stick. Naturally, maybe they don't talk about the stick, but everyone knows that the armored train is standing by with steam up and can quickly be switched from the siding to any direction that Trump wants.
Where you don't insult the main players, you build personal relationships with them and you offer them trade and beneficial incentives regarding tariffs or the absence of tariffs. And then you have an unspoken but rather big stick based on your previous ability to make decisive decisions, whether it's the killing of Soleimani or Baghdadi, or the destruction of Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, or the elimination of Iranian nuclear facilities during this particular term. When you put all that together, it creates a completely different approach, a completely different world. There are far more players on the international stage interested in the success of this than we've seen in the past, whether it's with Europe, previous American administrations, or the United Nations. Does this mean guaranteed success? No. It means there's a good chance for a ceasefire that will hold, and a 50-50 chance for lasting peace, which is already significant for the war-torn Middle East.
I would also add Qatar, Abu Dhabi, the Emirates, Saudi Arabia, plus Germany, France, Switzerland, and also South Korea, Singapore, and Japan. All of them have signed huge investments in technology, and none of them are going to throw those trillions away. They put, well, as the American saying goes, their money where their mouth is. Put your money where your mouth is. That is, they didn't just talk, they confirmed their partnership with Trump and with the United States, both under Trump and after Trump. And this partnership is now transforming the world from armed conflicts and chaos to a world of development, prosperity, and huge earnings that, well, if there is peace, will probably grow exponentially. Gaza will be rebuilt as a global resort, and Ukraine will be turned into an industrial base surpassing Germany. Everyone who is with us, forward to a bright future. And everyone who is not with us, well, maybe they'll come to their senses and jump onto the departing train, or they'll stay in their backward, completely outdated ways. In a world of feudal Russia, communist China, medieval Iran, and impoverished Venezuela, where university professors rummage through garbage bins in the areas where Maduro's enforcers live. I think it's the angel of the Lord. Well, or someone else who's responsible for the United States of America for our life and well-being, created Donald Trump so that light could finally overcome darkness. As Dairy Maid Dasha, who became a currency prostitute, said, Just got lucky, just with a tram ticket. And before we finish, ladies and gentlemen, we have a link for donations. And for Americans who donate more than $200, we'll send a document that will allow you to write it off. These 400 or 4 million, if you decide to donate 4 million to us, as they say now in incredibly interesting Russian, if you decide, then any amount you hope for will be deducted from your taxes. That's all. Goodbye.